Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into some project management challenges today.
Always ready for a challenge.
All right, so we're going deep with Patrick Lencioni and his book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. You familiar with this one?
Oh, yeah, it's a classic. And even though it focuses on executive teams, those dysfunctions can really wreak havoc on project teams too. Any team really.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. Tight deadlines,
Mhm.
different personalities, things changing all the time. It's like the perfect recipe for things to go wrong.
It is. And Lencioni uses this fictional company, right? Decision Tech. And their new CEO, Catherine Hay, she's brought in to fix things, but she walks into a team that is totally stuck because of these five dysfunctions.
Okay, so let's break it down. Dysfunction number one, absence of trust.
Mhm.
Seems pretty basic, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah.
But you see this all the time in project teams. When people don't feel safe to admit they're struggling or ask for help, like in Decision Tech, there's this guy, Martin Olden, a brilliant engineer, but he's so resistant to Catherine and all the changes she's trying to make. So he doesn't trust the process or the leadership. And that just trickles down to the whole team.
Exactly. And that leads to the second dysfunction, fear of conflict. Because if you don't trust your team, you're not going to openly debate and disagree. You're going to hold back, avoid those tough conversations. And what happens then? Well, you get a lot of passive-aggressive behavior, just like in decision tech.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it. The side eye, the sarcastic comments. It's like a silent poison.
It really is. And the problem is you're not addressing those issues head on. So they just fester and prevent you from finding real solutions.
Which brings us to dysfunction number 3, lack of commitment. Makes sense. If you can't openly talk through things and work through disagreements, how can you really commit to a decision?
It's impossible. And that's exactly what happens in decision tech. They couldn't even agree on what their main goal was. So they ended up wasting a ton of time and resources going in different directions.
It's like everyone's rowing a different way. You'll never get anywhere as a team like that. Nope. And then this lack of commitment sets the stage for the next dysfunction, avoidance of accountability. When you're not all in on something, it's easy to shy away from taking responsibility.
Right, like we see with JR in decision tech.
Yeah.
He's great at making promises, but not so great at delivering. And because the team doesn't really address it, his lack of accountability just keeps going.
And it creates this ripple effect, right? If one person isn't pulling their weight, others start to feel resentful, and soon the whole team dynamic is messed up.
So it all culminates in dysfunction number 5, inattention to results.
Yeah.
Everyone's so focused on their own little world that the bigger project goals get lost.
Yep. It becomes all about what's in it for me. We see that with Mikey in Decision Tech. She's so worried about her own recognition and contributions that she loses sight of the team's success.
Wow, it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
One dysfunction leads to the next.
It really is. And when you think about the common challenges project managers face, right?
Mm.
Communication breakdowns, missed deadlines, personality clashes, it all goes back to these 5 dysfunctions.
So by understanding these dysfunctions, we could start to see those challenges in a totally new light.
Exactly. It's like having a new lens to view your team dynamics and understand what's really going on beneath the surface.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 2. We'll dive into how to actually turn these dysfunctions around and create a more effective team.
Looking forward to it.
We'll be right back after the break.
So it's not just about identifying the problems.
All right, it's about finding solutions.
Exactly. And Lencioni, he gives us some really practical strategies, like to tackle that absence of trust. He talks about this personal histories exercise.
Personal histories.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that all about?
So you basically go around the team and each person shares a little bit about themselves, where they grew up, their first job, what they're most proud of.
So it's like getting to know each other as people, not just colleagues.
Yeah. And that vulnerability, it helps to build trust. It creates this space where people feel more comfortable opening up and being themselves.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the fear of conflict? How do you encourage healthy debate without it turning into a total war zone?
Well, Lencioni talks about this idea of disagree and commit. Basically, it means you can have those passionate discussions, challenge each other's ideas, but once a decision is made, everyone's on board.
So you can argue and fight for your point of view, but at the end of the day, you're all moving forward together.
Exactly. And clear communication is crucial here. Decision Tech really struggled with this. They'd make decisions in their meetings, but then the message wouldn't really get out to everyone.
Well, I've seen that happen. It's like that game of telephone. By the time the message gets to the end, it's completely different.
Right. So Lencioni emphasizes what he calls cascading communication. Everyone from the project lead all the way down needs to understand not just the decision, but the why behind it.
Okay, so transparency is key.
Yeah.
It helps everyone feel like they're part of the process.
And that builds buy-in and prevents those misunderstandings that can really derail a project. Now let's move on to accountability. Remember how JR wasn't pulling his weight in decision tech?
Yeah, that lack of accountability was a real problem. So how do you address that?
It takes those tough conversations, but they're a lot easier to have when you've already established trust and healthy conflict. Lencioni suggests setting clear expectations, deadlines, regular progress checks.
So having those systems in place is important to keep everyone on track and make sure things are moving forward.
And if someone's falling behind, don't be afraid to address it directly, but do it with empathy and focus on solutions, not blame.
Got it. Okay, last one. In attention to results, how do you make sure everyone's focused on the bigger picture, not just their individual to-do list?
You have to be really clear about the project goals and how each person's role contributes to those goals. Tie performance evaluations to team success. Make it clear that everyone's in it together.
So creating that sense of shared ownership is important.
It is. And when you address these 5 dysfunctions, it can make a huge difference. Remember how Decision Tech was able to turn things around? They started hitting deadlines, morale went up. They even turned down a big acquisition offer because they were so committed to their project.
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible transformation.
It shows you the power of teamwork and how addressing these seemingly small issues can have a massive impact on your results.
It's like they say, teamwork makes the dream work. But it's not just about feeling good. It's about creating a high-performing team that gets things done.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that it's not a one-time fix. You have to constantly work at it.
Because those dysfunctions, they can sneak back in.
They can. So project managers need to regularly check in with their team, assess the dynamics, and make adjustments as needed.
It's like tending a garden. You have to keep weeding out those dysfunctions to help your team grow.
I love that analogy. So to wrap things up, think about your own team, your current project. What's one small step you can take this week to move in the right direction?
Could it be having a more honest conversation with a teammate? Setting clearer expectations? Or maybe just taking a moment to recognize someone's contribution?
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time.
It's about planting that seed and watching it grow into a strong and resilient team.
So go out there, embrace those challenges, and build those amazing teams that can achieve incredible things.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, happy collaborating.
So we really went beyond just those surface-level project management tips, right?
Yeah, it's not just about, schedules and budgets.
It's about the people.
Exactly. And when you understand these 5 dysfunctions, it gives you this whole new way to approach those human dynamics that can really make or break a project.
It's like having this deeper understanding of what's really going on in your team.
Yeah, and once you see those patterns, you can make better decisions about how you lead, how you communicate, how you create that environment where everyone can do their best work.
So it's not just about fixing problems when they come up.
Right, it's about preventing them in the first place.
Which brings us to our final thought for all of you listening out there.
What's one thing you can do differently this week?
What's one action you can take to build more trust, encourage healthy debate, strengthen commitment, boost accountability in your team?
Remember those small changes, they can add up to big results over time.
It's like planting a seed and watching it grow into this amazing team.
So go out there and face those challenges head on. Build those incredible teams that can achieve anything.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, happy collaborating.